Hello, creative friends, Shami here. So we are going to play with some collage fodder. So here I have these rub-ons. Sorry, I did record this in real time, but my microphone wasn't working that well. I think it's because I have a cold, but I'm going to just take some fabric here. I got this idea. I had some rub-ons from a couple years ago, and this is just regular fabric. From a sheet that I like to use, and I'm just cutting it down into a rectangular shape. I really like the torn edges, so I'm going to do some torn, and then I'm going to cut some out too. So just grab whatever kind of fabric you have, it will work just fine, and some rub-ons. I will have some recommendations for some really pretty rub-ons that I found on Amazon. These I found at the Dollar Tree, and they're really beautiful too, but they probably won't last that long. And I'm just ripping it apart. And I just thought that it would be so great to have this kind of fabric element in your journal that you can add. You can just glue it in there, and rub-ons are very, very easy to handle. So when you get the rub-ons, they'll have kind of two layers. So on one side, they will be printed, and then there'll be a clear sheet on top of that, and that kind of protects them. So you kind of want to keep them together. So you'll see here that I'm showing you that. And you're just going to cut around them. These are really pretty. They're gold. And I just love the motifs. They also had some that had water, like octopuses and seashells and that kind of stuff. So those are great. And if you peel it back, then you see there that it actually has the rub-on part, which is what you're going to rub on the fabric. So I'm just cutting around these. I had no idea if this would work, so we kind of were discovering together. You'll just cut out the sheets, cut them out together, don't take it apart yet, and cut out whatever you want. You probably want to use kind of a finer scissor for this, but just take your time and cut out all the elements that you want to use. But rub-ons are so fun. I did this really beautiful silhouette painting with like this afro, and I added in the background, I added lots of these really beautiful rub-ons that they used to have at the Dollar Tree that were like kind of antique ones, and they were cool. Like they had stamps and all sorts of cool stuff. So I wish I would have got more of those. But I learned my lesson. I got 2 packs of these, so I'll be able to have some rub-on fun for a little while. So after you get them cut out, you're going to take your fabric, and I'm going to kind of lay these out, and you need something to varnish. So I'm just going to use my scissors, the handles of my scissors, but you can use a bone folder. I do have one of those. I didn't feel like getting it. You can kind of use whatever you want, and then you're going to peel off the top, and then that's where the actual rub-on is, and I'm pressing it against it. And then I'm going to take my scissors and rub it on. So you'll just keep rubbing and rubbing and rub some more. So before you even add it, just keep rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, because it takes more rubbing than you think. And you can tell, like when you take it out of, when you peel the white part off, you can see. And that's the part that you turn towards, or the clear part, sorry, the coating. You'll turn it towards the fabric. And that's what you will, then you'll take your scissors and press it. And you'll see here, I'm going to peel it back, and I see that it's not coming all the way off. So that just means that you need to keep rubbing off so that the design will come off. So I'll peel here, and you see that you can see the leaf here, but if I pull down a little bit, the leaf underneath that is still sticking. So I'm just going to keep rubbing. Just be patient. This is great to do in front of your television, so it works out. And this will really work on any kind of fabric. You'll see that I have a 5 Below rug. And I'm going to grab some fabric from there too, and that fabric's a little bit of satin, and that works out great too. You kind of just have to straighten it a little bit, but it will work. And you're just going to just keep moving those scissors around. I'm putting a little bit more pressure and going a little bit faster too, to kind of get it done, but it's totally worth it. It turns out so great, and I'm gonna keep pulling, and I think I got it, so I'm gonna pull it off, and that's the way that it looks. If you wanted to, you could probably seal these with Mod Podge or something like that, but I think it'll be totally fine. And then this is where I'm like, wait a second, I'm gonna go see if I have the Five Below thing. So this is my bag of Five Below scrap. They have this scrap rug that you can get there, and it's full of all this fabulous, glorious fabric. So I just washed it, and I found this piece, so I'm going to cut it up. I decided to speed this a little bit so you can watch the process. So I'm going to stretch out the fabric, and then I put the rub-on there, and then I'm going to just press it and rub and then it peels off. I'm going to keep rubbing and keep rubbing and keep pulling, and that's how it looks. It looks so nice. And then I'm going to tear it because I like the torn edge, and it's really beautiful. You can kind of stretch it out and make it look nice. So that's what those look like. Now, I have been cutting out a lot of magazine silhouettes, so I want to show you how you can use those too. I created this printable. It's available in my Etsy store, but if you have leftover magazines, you can totally do this yourself. All I do is cut them out, and then I trace them onto white paper, and then you can use them over and over again. So I have a whole set of them that I like to use. So you can add and subtract and add things onto these. They're so great, and there's so many different ways that you can use them. So for this one, I'm actually going to collage on top of this. So I just had my file, because I did this once, and then I scanned it on my computer and on my phone, and then on my computer, and then I just printed it out on white cardstock to give it a little bit of structure, and I can use these over and over again, and I'm actually going to collage my scraps on top of them. So I thought that would be a really great way to use collage fodder too. So here I'm just taking some Elmer's glue all in the little container, and I have just a brush here and lots of scraps and lots more scraps. So these are my two little containers of like little scraps that I have on my desk, and it's perfect for this project. I do recommend in hindsight that you actually stay within the form, because it is a little bit difficult to kind of cut in some areas. So just kind of keep that in mind. I kind of learned that the hard way. And it's not like it's a piece of wood where you can go around with an emery board, so you kind of do have to use scissors. But I just take these little paper scraps and I just glue them on. So I add some glue on the bottom where the paper is, and then I seal it with glue too. And you can use any kind of glue for this. I just use Elmer's glue all. That's what I have. I have a whole heap and container of it, so that's what I'm using too. And it worked out very, very well. You'll see that though when it dries that there was a lot of I kind of went a little crazy with my gluing, but that's what I love about collage, and it's so meditative doing this. I love collaging. It's so much fun, and it's so relaxing to tear little pieces and stick them on, and it requires no thinking, and it just is such a relaxing process. So I recommend that you do it. It's so much fun. And you could do this on anything. Maybe you have like a silhouette of like a bird or something like that. That would work out really great too. Or even circles would work for this technique too. So you're just going to keep adding in your little pieces. This does take a little while, but it's totally worth it. And you'll see here that I'm going to get some more scraps and just keep going. Keep adding more pieces to her hat and all sorts of stuff. And it's going to look great. So you'll just keep going. And this it didn't take me that long. I mean, when I collage, I don't really overthink it. So it doesn't take me that long. And I'm just using whatever scraps that I wanted. But if you wanted to, you could be more intentional about this. Like you could just use certain colors or certain kinds of papers. Like I think a book page would be cool, like mixed with brown paper. You could do a lot of cool stuff. So silhouettes are so versatile. You can use them in so many ways in your art. And I'm sure you have a free magazine hanging around. So you can totally do this. or you can download mine and make it even easier. But I'm just gonna add a bunch of them, bunch of little pieces, and it's okay if they overlap. I have tissue paper and napkins here, so I really love to kind of add that at the end when I can't really see or I can't fit little pieces in. The napkins will kind of cover up the white on the paper, and they add really beautiful patterns, and it'll overlap and it covers in all the spaces. So I like doing that. I kind of save like the tissue paper and the napkins for later, and it kind of looks like a hot mess now, but once I cut it you'll see that it will get much better. So, but this is going to be so fun to add to the page. I just have to think about a background. It's going to be fun. So after you're done, you're going to let this dry completely. Okay, so for our next project, we are going to treat this paper. I want to turn it into like coffee dyed, and then I have a printable that I will make available to you that will have words on it. So I'm going to let this dry completely, and then I'll put it through my printer. You could also take this to like an office supply store too, and just kind of add in antique kind of elements afterwards. But let me go ahead and add, you could absolutely just use watercolor for this, but I really love coffee, so I'm going to use a little bit of that, and I'm going to use some clear gesso and probably some water too. So there's that. And you know what, we don't have to use clear gesso. What we could do actually is we can probably just use some white paint. I should have some more. Okay. Actually, you know what? I found this really cheap white paint at the dollar store. It is not very good. I do not recommend that you get it, but it might work for this application. It's just very transparent. I shouldn't say that it isn't good. You can absolutely use it for different applications, but I'm just going to go in here and just mix this up. And then I'm going to just apply the color on here. This is what it looks like in case you're in the US and you can get some transparent white paint, but it is incredibly transparent. But you can have a bunch of these sheets made up, and it's just going to kind of make our letters pop. And you can add more coffee to make it darker. Sorry, this is not, my desk has lots of crumbs and things on it. Alrighty, so we'll do this. I'm going to add just a little bit more paint. So see, it works. So I got this, and I was a little bit disappointed because I was using it for a project, but I found another use for it. So this is just instant coffee. If you don't like the smell of coffee, you could use watercolor for this, and that would work out too, or even any kind of brown paint will get the job done. So don't worry about it. We just want a little bit of variation in our paper, like that. That should work. Alrighty, and I would do maybe a couple of these sheets. A lot of the printable that I will have available to you, it just has positive words. So you could kind of piece them together and make kind of a saying if you want, or you could add other things like letters from magazines or from book pages, just to create your own kind of words or sayings that you want to add to your journal. I love adding words. I kind of don't feel like an art journal page is done unless I add a word to it, but I'm a reader and that kind of thing. Like, you don't really need it, but I'm going to let this dry. It shouldn't take very long because I didn't use a lot of water. So we'll let this dry completely. I'm probably going to do another sheet of this too, another sheet like this too. So I'll have two kind of printed out, and then I can cut them out and use them in my art. So I'll be back. I'm going to stick this in the water and we'll let this dry for a few minutes, and then I'll put it through my printer and you'll see how it turns out. Okay, so this is what it looks like, and then you can cut them out. They look really cool, and I did use fonts that are like typewriter and that kind of thing. You have a lot. I would definitely save these little scraps. but you can add them to your journal, and you can make your own list of words too and sayings and just keep printing it over and over again. But I really like how these look. So really fun. I hope that you try this technique. I'm going to let this one dry and I'll print some more out so I'll have some ready in my stash. And then I'll show you the other ones that I made, the silhouettes. We can trim those up too. But really fun, super simple. So let me grab the silhouettes. So all we're going to do is just trim around the edges. This is how it looks. And you can just take scissors, or we can also take an emery board too and go around. That will remove all the not so fun stuff. Or you can skip this step if you took your time and didn't, you know, collage all over the place like I did. Make a mess. Really fun. Okay, we'll do some here. Let's go in between. And you can add these into your journals. You could even do it on a canvas. So it's fun. I just used Elmer's glue here, so it does have a little bit of kind of flyaways. We'll just go through there and kind of see what's going on there. And we can go in here too and trim it up. Just like that. That looks pretty good. Go in and add a little bit tighter even. And take your time. And close to the edge. I think it would be better if you just didn't get over the edge. So you won't have to go into all this little detail that I am. But it will work. See if I can get that glue there. But it's really cool, and if you wanted to, you could go in and add paint to this and really kind of bump it up. But I really like these, and they're all collagey, and you use your paper scraps, which I don't know about you. I have a ton of paper scraps, so I'm always looking for ways to use them. So this is awesome. Just like that. And then I have another one too that looks like that. So really fun. So I hope I gave you 3 really cool ideas that you can use for your collage fodder to add to your journal. So this is how everything turned out. So I really hope that you try these projects, that it's fun, and that you enjoy adding them to your journal. And I will see you guys for next week's video. Bye bye.